Hi folks, it's me Michaela and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about all of the books I read in January. I had a really great start off to this new year. I mean like in general, but like especially for like books, I had a good time in the first month of 2024. I did take a break away from doing reading vlogs. I didn't do any reading vlogs this month. I kind of just wanted my reading at the beginning of this year to be kind of just for me. So I think this is probably the first time I'm talking about most, if not all of these books with you. So that's exciting for a reading wrap up for once. I actually haven't talked about these books, so I don't feel like I'm repeating myself. But let's just get right into it and start off with some of my reading stats for January. As always, I have my notes, but I also have an itchy nose. Okay, we're good. So in January, I read a total of 6 books. They were all physical reads and I owned all 6 of them. So I didn't have any loans from the library and I didn't do any digital reading this month. And I had 4 that were new to me and I had 2 rereads this month. I had a really amazing rating average of 4.5. Yes, that's correct, 4.5. I read a total of 2,478 pages, which is an average book length of about 413, and I averaged about 80 pages a day. So there's just, some cute little numbers. So let's just start with the first book I read in the year of 2024, and that was A Dangerous Collaboration by Deanna Raybourn. This is the 4th book in her Veronica Speedwell series, and when I tell you this is the best book yet, like I thought that the first book was going to be, my favorite and I was going to like all the rest of it. I love this book. 5 stars, amazing. Things that you have been waiting for happen in this book. And it's so good. Also, like the mystery is really good. We have like secluded island mystery vibes, solving an old murder while you're locked on an island with people. We love that. The atmosphere, the vibes, immaculate. The plot, amazing. The character growth, it was just so good. It was so good. When I tell you that, like, if you haven't read the Veronica Speedwell series, there's still 5 books in this series that I haven't even read yet. But I'm telling you, if you haven't started this series yet, you need to start reading this series because I love this series. This is probably one, if not my favorite series that I'm reading. It's just such a good balance of genres too, between like the historical setting is so good, the cozy mystery vibes, but still having some pretty like exciting, actiony kind of and like tense scenes in it work well. And then the relationship between Veronica and Stoker, amazing. Honestly, I read it because the mysteries are good, but I mainly read it because of Veronica and Stoker, and I will continue to do so. I then read Consider Me by Becka Mack. This is the first book in her series Playing for Keeps. Now, I did only pick this book up because the cover was really pretty and it's blurred by Hannah Grace, and I really love Icebreaker and Wildfire, and that, like, and I didn't know anything else going in. I didn't have the highest hopes, but I did have hopes, and this kind of just hit them. It was 3 stars. It was a fun read. I read the first part quite quickly, and then I did not because this book is too long. This book is 500 pages. That is too long for a romance book. It just, why is my eyelash in my eye? Why is my eyelash in my eyeball? It's just too long for a romance. It gets into this lull really quick where it's just like, they're just like existing. And I'm just like, can we move the plot forward? Because it doesn't really feel like while they're just kind of in a happy relationship, that like any kind of tensions or growth they're having doesn't feel significant enough for that many pages to be in between, especially when something is gonna happen, like there's like some 3rd act conflict gonna happen, but you have to read all of this first. So I feel like, you know, maybe if it took longer to get together, it was more slow burn. Yes, like at the beginning you're like, oh, is this gonna be a bit of a slow burn romance? But then it was kind of just like not. So it was like fun. I had a good time. I didn't hate it at all. It was a fun read. I just felt it was too long, so sometimes the pacing felt off. I also was mad a lot about this because there's a lot of errors in this book, as in like there's very clearly a word missing, or there's words out of order, or there are typos, and I'm pretty observant, so like I kind of notice at least one typing or error like this in like every book I read, like at least one. I noticed one, but they were happening so often in this that it was getting like infuriating. I was just like, did no one edit this book? Did nobody look at it before you printed it on paper and then I bought it in a store with my money? Did nobody look at this? Because there was that many where it's like, this is not like, oh, it's that one that got missed because it's hundreds and hundreds of pages of words, and you know, like, people are humans and we make mistakes. No, there were so many errors in this book and it made me mad. I will keep reading the rest of the series though because I had a fun time. I just was upset. I was just upset about there being that many errors because it's distracting. I also was mad in this book because, look, I'm not saying that everything that happens in a book needs to be believable and realistic. But the main character in this book, the female main character, she is 25, okay? And she is a phys ed teacher at a high school. And she owns a house in Vancouver. And this is like present day. Ma'am, there is no way you own that house. Did you buy it when you were in the womb? It's not happening. I'm sorry, it's not happening. There's no way. Like, you must be the highest paid phys ed teacher on the planet at the age of 25. Like, so you only graduated college or university, what, like 3 years ago? So you've been working as a phys ed teacher for 3 years and you own a house in Vancouver? I'm sorry, anybody from Canada should know that the housing market in Vancouver is insane. Even if she's not even in downtown Vancouver and she's in like Metro Vancouver, there's still no way. And this, I'm not talking about a condo, okay? It is described as like a separate, it's a house. It's a really tiny, crappy house, but it's a house. And she can't, I'm sorry, I don't believe that she owns even a crappy house in Metro Vancouver. No. That's the most implausible part about this. This is a book about like an NHL player seeing a girl at a bar and then falling in love with her despite him being a playboy. And her owning a house is the thing that I'm stuck on not believing. It's just not true. I'm sorry. And like, there was no need for her to own the house. Why couldn't she have just lived in an apartment? It didn't make any sense to me. It didn't make any sense to me, and I was upset. I was upset. Mainly because I'm jealous, because it's like, I would like to own a house. Anyway. That was Consider Me by Becka Mack. I then read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I wanted to switch it up. I was still in the mood for romance, but I wanted to read something other than romance so I wouldn't kind of get burnt out on romance. So I decided to pick this up. I got this as a Christmas gift. Christmas gift? My birthday? One of them. My birthday is like really close to Christmas, so sometimes it gets confusing. But I adored this. Just like I adored The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I adored this. I gave this 5 stars. I think, again, Taylor Jenkins Reid just knows how to write fake famous people to the point where, like, you just believe that they're real. Like, it's true. I love the fact that this is all told through different oral, like, interviews. It's, like, a bunch of different interviews that are then, like, all of the little clips and, like, quotes are in a line to make a story, like, timeline-wise makes sense. It's like all of the interviews of the different people like mixed together to tell the story, and it's so good. It makes it so easy to just like put down and pick up and just keep reading because there's no chapters. There are like sections, and then there's kind of like within those sections kind of sometimes you can see like formatting wise like smaller sections. There's still kind of good places to like stop, but in general you can kind of just pause like anywhere and then just pick it up again, and like you're good, you're back in it, and it's amazing. So this was such a quick read for me because of that. It worked really well with kind of being like busy but just wanting to read a little bit, because you didn't feel like you'd have to dedicate a bunch of time to reading in like one big chunk, but then you'd end up doing it anyway because the book was so good. Amazing. Yeah, it's just like famous people. It is, you know, like the 70s, right? It's like the 60s, the 70s, it's LA, it's rock and roll, it's all of that. And it's I just love reading these kind of books. It just feels good. It just feels good. I just had a great time. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I just love the book. I think the writing is so good. I think the characters are so good. I think the way the story unfolds is so good. I think the format of the book, amazing. I have now fully decided that I am a Taylor Jenkins Reid girl. I've only read 2 of her books, but I don't care. It's been decided. And I will just keep reading more of them. I think next I want to read Malibu Rising, so we'll see when I get around to that, but the plan is that I will. So that was like the second 5-star read of the month, okay? The last 3 books are all from one series, okay? And it's the A League of Extraordinary Women series by Evie Dunmore. I had previously read the first 2 books quite a while ago. This is a historical romance series, so despite it being like a series, you don't really need to remember too much of what happened in the other books, because there's obviously, it's like romance plot, different couples in each one, so there's not like a huge like connecting plot. There are like characters for the other books that are like introduced first, kind of like in passing in the beginning books, but I had picked up Portrait of a Scotsman, which is the 3rd book, and I was reading it like really slowly. And I mean like it was like 4 days, and I had only read like 100 pages slowly. And I was like, why am I reading this so slowly? Because it's not like I'm not liking it. And I realized that in the back of my head, my little brain was like, you know what, now that I started this, I actually kind of want to reread the first 2 books first. So then I put this book down, and then I reread Bringing Down the Duke, reread this in like 2 days, and then I picked up A Rogue of One's Own, and I reread this in like 3 days, and then I started again Portrait of a Scotsman. I read this in like 3 days, so that was super fun. There is of course a 4th book in the series, and I really want to know, like I'm like itching to go pick that up from Indigo and then read it immediately and like finish the series, just because I was having such a fun time. I forgot how much I really enjoyed this setting and these characters and these like strong women in the 1800s. It's the late 1800s, right? I always like forget, like I always get mixed up about like if it's the 1700s or the 1800s. Yeah, it's like late 1800s. These late 1800 British women are amazing, and I love it. So I did not re-rate these 2 books. The first time I read it, I gave Bringing Down the Duke a 4.5. I gave A Rogue of One's Own a 4.25. I no longer do quarter-star ratings. I found that I was just kind of getting too picky about it, so I only do half stars now. So I've rounded this up to a 4.5 because I also just really like this book. So these were both 4.5s for me, and then I ended up giving Portrait of a Scotsman 5 stars. I absolutely adored this book. This book was so good. Okay, like you have Bringing Down the Duke, Annabelle, and then Montgomery, and so like she's like a common girl, and then he's the Duke. They fall in love. It's so good. And then you have A Rogue of One's Own, and you have like Lucy, and you have Tristan, and he's like a rogue, and he doesn't want to be the heir to his horrible father. She is the head of the suffrage movement, you know, and so she's not interested in men. They knew each other as children, and they like kind of hate each other, but like now they don't hate each other. And that's so good. And then you have Hattie and Lucian, and he's like a businessman who has come to his fortune in ways that are not so amazing all the time. And then Hattie is the daughter of a huge rich banker, and so he ends up like tricking her kind of into marriage. It like starts off bad and you're like, what is happening? But then it just gets so good. This hate to love, enemies to lovers. It's so good. It's so good. I loved every second of this book. Okay, they're in Scotland for a lot of it, and that's such a fun setting to follow. So I just like had such a good time at the end of this month reading these books. Bringing Down the Duke, A Rogue of One's Own, and Portrait of a Scotsman. And, okay, because next, their fourth friend in the group, okay, is Catriona, and that's what the fourth book is following her. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I need to get it. I need to get it on my shelves and read it immediately. My book. Don't fall down. I'm just gonna borrow this so you don't fall down again. So those were the 6 books that I read in January. It was such a good reading month. It was so much fun. It's making me very excited for February. I am planning on going to the bookstore and buying a bunch of books soon because I have a bunch of gift cards from the holidays that I still haven't used, but I didn't use them yet because I wanted to read some of the books that I got for the holidays on top of the gift cards. I am very, very well loved by the people around me. So I'm gonna go buy more books for February, and it's gonna be exciting. And I think I'm gonna get back into reading vlogs, and you know, that'll be exciting. I don't really know 100% what I want to do for reading vlogs yet. Sometimes I kind of just like read what I read and then like it's a vlog and that's it, you know, like there's not always a need for a theme, but themes are fun, so we'll think about it, we'll think on it. I do have a few more books on my shelf that I haven't read yet that I'm going to be reading, but I do kind of need to replenish my TBR. If you happen to like this video, make sure to give it a like, give it a little thumbs up, and if you happen to like me, consider subscribing. I'd be happy to have you. Tell me what you read in January. How is your reading at the beginning of 2024 going for you? I hope you've been having as good of a month as I had, but I mean, like, maybe you haven't, but there's still lots of year left and things could improve, so let me know. And with that, I will see you in the next one. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Bye-bye.